If you have a business, you need a website. What's the best way to get a website up and running? Choose a website hosting company that makes it simple, like Pair Networks. Pair has over 20 years of experience managing the entire digital ecosystem for thousands of online businesses all around the world. Pair makes it easy for you with do-it-yourself website building, tools, and features, including simple drag and drop page design. And they have guaranteed US-based support technicians ready to help you whenever you need it. 24 hours a day, 365 a year. Right now, when you sign up with Pair Networks, you'll receive 1 free month of web hosting. See for yourself how easy it is to build your website for free. Visit pair.com/free to get your first month of website hosting for free by using the code QUICKSTART. That's pair.com/free, promo code QUICKSTART to get started today.
If their offensive line is elite, and if Jonathan Taylor can keep putting the team on their back, I think literally they could go all the way, being a dark horse team. How about you?
I'm going Cincinnati.
Okay, I like that pick a lot.
I think I like yours because you got Jonathan Taylor. You need to be able to run the rock in the playoffs, especially if you're on the road. Cincinnati, you need a great quarterback and a matchup. That right now I think they would end up playing New England, which would be amazing. Out of all the potential playoff matches right now, I think that'd be my favorite. But give me Cincinnati. Give me Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow to make it to the Super Bowl. So, woo! Wow, how about that callback? Of course, we are here live. This is Nick and Charles here, episode 6, 7. I can't remember quite remember which one we are on at this point, but that was just a little throwback, something we might do in the future. Something we recorded about a month ago. We were talking about dark horse Super Bowl contenders. Charles chose the Colts, which I still think would have made a hell of a run had they got into the playoffs. And, of course, I chose the Bengals. So welcome to the show, Charles. How about that for to start the show today?
Yeah, you know what, man? That was a big call right there. It's kind of like a recurring theme that we've talked about since like the very beginning of the year about the Bengals being like one of those teams.
Yeah.
You have the guts to call them for the Super Bowl. I went a different route, but it's like that's awesome to see you get one that like you called like that because that's a big time call. A lot of other people missed out on that.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Really just got lucky on that, but really exciting stuff. So today. We're going to go through the championship games. We're going to talk Chiefs Bengals. We're going to dive into Rams 49ers, do a little preview into the Super Bowl. Not going to make any predictions quite yet. We're going to leave that until next week. But let's start with the game we're just talking about, the Bengals game. They obviously make it to the Super Bowl. Charles, what were your impressions of the Bengals-Chiefs game?
Oh, man, first off, I was so happy about that. That's how it went down because you're watching the beginning of this game. And you actually are thinking, like, how is anyone going to stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs right now?
Right.
Like, you don't even think for the rest of this game. You think for the Super Bowl. You're like, first quarter, first half, it was, 21-3 at one point. I mean, it's unbelievable that Joe Burrow, or should we say Joe Burr, like, man, he's just been calm, collected. He's cold, man. He's just a leader. Everybody in that locker room thinks that he can get it done, and he does. This is a special year for the Bengals. It kind of reminds me of those teams in the past because the Eagles were a 1 seed when they won back in 2017-18. So it was like, even if people doubted them and they were the underdog, it's like, man, they were the number 1 seed. How much of an underdog can you really be? This kind of reminds me of like the Giants when they were like the 6th seed in the wild card that first year that they were winning on. Because it's like nobody had them in the Super Bowl except for one of us, obviously, Nick having him in the Super Bowl. But just a really, really incredible game. It continues with this playoffs. The very last score is the one that's been winning this ball game on the last play. So what a game, but Joe Burrow gets it done, and they're going to be scary in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, incredible. I think my takeaway here is, like you're saying, it didn't look like the Chiefs could be stopped at some point. They lead 21-3. So it looked like they were in control, which I think goes back to something that is key with the Chiefs sometimes. When they get a big lead, I feel like sometimes they get complacent, especially real key. I know a lot of people are going to be talking about it today and throughout the week is the Chiefs are up 21-10 right before the end of the half. They opt to get points and really step on the throat of the Cincinnati Bengals. They don't end up getting any sort of points there. So they go into the half only up 11 when they're up 21-3. We know what happens into that, second half. Cincinnati starts to chip away. I think that gave him a ton of confidence saying, hey, we should be out of this game right now. And here we are. We're able to stick around a little bit. And like you said, Joe Burrow is able to stay in there and keep it cool. And all of a sudden you got a game. They left the door open for them. And when you have a quarterback like that and a player like Jamar Chase, it could be trouble, even on the road for the Bengals.
We're giving a lot of attention to Joey Franchise here. Obviously, all credit is due to him there. But it was really the defense that brought the Bengals back in this game. They showed that they could stop Patrick Mahomes. Not only that, but they could get him on the ground. They had several key sacks, and they had some coverage sacks that allowed that. I mean, Patrick Mahomes in the first half, or maybe the first quarter, looked brilliant in his scrambling, right? It looked like a magician. And then they kind of made him look a little idiotic in the second half because he's running around for 10 seconds, just continues to go back. Yeah. And Bengals have a great pass rush. What they started doing was doing a quarterback spy. Yeah. And after a few seconds, when it was clear that there was not that extra man coming out, they would blitz. They had 2 sacks based off of that outside linebacker waiting for him there. So it was really impressive play by the defense. I'm sure Zach Taylor was a big part of that too, getting pressure on them. So credit to the entire Bengals team.
Absolutely. I mean, you nailed it right on the head. Of course, you need guys like a guy like Burrow to give you that confidence to be able to come back in a game like that. And he's going to get a lot of the credit, and maybe he should. But like you said, that defense really, really stifled the Chiefs in the second half. And even on that play, which I think was so key, coming down to the end right there, which they scored a touchdown. Obviously, that's massive. But even a field goal is some amount of points right there. But I want to fast forward to right towards the end of the game. So Cincinnati has taken the lead. I think it was 24-21. And Kansas City's down right in the red zone right there. So if you think about those last 2 possessions, those 2 possessions in total, they're right in goal line range, and they get 3 points out of it, and you end up losing by 3. So I think that's really tough. That last possession where it looked like a field goal was guaranteed, where it looked like Butker was, if it was going to come down, maybe a 25, 30-yard field goal. Of course, Mahomes has to scramble around, and they're playing that zone coverage where he's not able to laser it in somewhere, and he ends up fumbling. And Cincinnati doesn't recover, and the Chiefs do get a chance to kick in overtime, which they do, and only end up losing in overtime. But man, just a little bit careless towards the end. And this is a Chiefs team. When they're playing their A-ball, they are probably the best team in the league. But when they're not, they're clearly not, and they're beatable, like we saw on Sunday.
Yeah, and this was a team, we talked about early on. Chiefs did not have a good start this year, and a lot of teams counted them out, analysts counted them out early on. And you kind of saw a lot of those flaws that we saw early on in the year, showing that I told my buddy when we were watching the game together that if Patrick Mahomes makes 2 turnovers, that is the only way that they're going to be able to beat the Chiefs. I said, absolutely only. That's a trend this season, that Patrick Mahomes in these turnover-worthy games have allowed that other team to steal those possessions. And that's really the only way that you're going to outscore Patrick Mahomes is you take those drives away from him. And they got lucky on that 1 interception, but also the fumbling was just an issue. So those 2 turnovers happened, gave the Bengals 2 extra drives, 2 extra opportunities, and they got it done.
As a fan, I know you're a big Joe Burrow fan, and we're both happy for the Bengals. Are you disappointed that the Chiefs didn't win? Do you think that would have been a better Super Bowl had they played San Francisco and the Rams? And we'll get to them in a second. How do you feel about not seeing the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl?
So I've got two things with the Chiefs. One, like Andy Reid, led the
Yeah.
Eagles to a ton of success throughout the years.
Yeah.
So of course I always like to root for Andy if I don't have any actual dog in the fight right there.
Right.
But also I've been interested to see if someone's going to try to match up to Tom Brady's legacy, which a lot of people thought early on. Patrick Mahomes, this is his fourth consecutive conference championship game, right? Andy Reid went to 4 consecutive conference championship games with another team way back with the Eagles, back with McNabb too. So these are stats of like elite quarterbacks. And I was waiting to see if he was going to make another Super Bowl. Would it maybe be a rematch between the 49ers in 2020?
Right.
But no, I always think the teams that win these games, especially when like it's time for people to really show what you're made of late in these games, that it's like make or break you, these teams deserve to be there. So Bengals were the best team to, be in this game in the Super Bowl.
They did, and I don't think we should be surprised by them anymore because they're not the cute little Bengals. I think that we saw at the beginning of the year. I just want to remind people of two things that pops into my mind. Is one is Joe Burrow tore his ACL last year, which is insane, and two, going all the way back to the draft when people were going, well, did they take Jamar Chase or did they take his name is slipping me, but Sewell, right. The offensive line, who I think went to Detroit. I was one who thought to build up the offensive line, he needs a little bit more protection. How can he perform if he doesn't have time to throw, right? Well, it turns out it worked out pretty well, and obviously we'll never know how it would work out if they ended up taking the guy from Detroit. But isn't that crazy? Like how one move changes everything for those two franchises. I'm sure the kid in Detroit is going to have an excellent career, but man, that move to draft Chase was a total game changer. And look out, future of the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, could be years for the AFC North that they don't want to see, the Bengals, taking over, especially with a lot of uncertainty with the other teams right now.
Absolutely. Well, let's get to the other game. Another classic coming down to the end. Rams, 49ers. 49ers. I mean, for me, it was missed opportunities on both sides. And the quarterback that played a little bit better for me was Stafford, and he got the team to win. I mean, he did have like missed opportunities as far in, I think it was the first half, huge drop by Cooper Kupp. Later that same possession, 18 for the Rams, drops a right in his hands, missed touchdown, but it felt like the 49ers were really controlling the game, but yet somehow at the end of the first half, the 49ers are leading 10-7. So it really was missed opportunities for me. And the Rams that all-star group able to come together and get it done and knock off a San Francisco team that was really, really tough. I mean, this game, just watching the highlights earlier today, it was really tough to get anything going on both sides of the ball, and that's why those key mistakes ended up being huge in the end.
Yeah, especially like we talked about this last week. This is the third time that these teams saw each other this year. So you knew it was going to be a close one because the 49ers got the best of the Rams first 2 games in the regular season and really hard-fought games. And I think your point that the All-Star Rams here, it's like that's exactly what they are. They have elite individual at each position for the Rams. And when you're having that versus, I feel like an outmatched 49ers team, although I really like the 49ers and they fight hard, I think just on paper the Rams have a better team. And these are individuals that have been waiting for this moment the entire year. And it just showed that a lot of the Rams were clutch. And missed opportunities is definitely a theme. But this is also an opportunity for Stafford to make his way into the all-time greats combo, depending on the Super Bowl. If they win the Super Bowl here, he has orchestrated 2 of the most prolific receiving seasons of all time, right? So with Cooper Kupp, Calvin Johnson, and he's done it on very poor teams for 12 years with the Lions. So to see him in his first season with the Rams bring them to the Super Bowl just shows you the missed years that we've had with Matthew Stafford the Lions.
And I think it's fantastic. I mean, I think as far as a Super Bowl that we're getting, I couldn't be happier for the 2 quarterbacks. I think Joe Burrow he's getting a lot of credit and praise, which he should, but Stafford has been in the league for over a decade, and he's just been one of the toughest guys in the league. And for him to finally get his chance at a Super Bowl, which is fantastic. It's fantastic to see his first year in LA. They get all the way to the Super Bowl, which just goes to show surround the guy with some talent, and he can get you there. And I'm glad to see he's getting some credit now.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And you talk about it all the time. I mean, these GMs right now in the offseason have the question, do I trade away my current quarterback, find another opportunity? Do I go through the draft? Do I want to restart and mold my new guy, or do I want to be patient with my individual? And, of course, that depends on how many years down the road there. But I'll use Jalen Hurts right now. It's like, even though Jalen Hurts is a Pro Bowl alternate, had a pretty darn good year for the Eagles. I mean, brought a non-playoff team to be a playoff team in just one season. People are still unsure because he's not showing that Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert type throwing ability. People are wondering, do we wait for somebody that can throw like that? And I think we just have to ease the brakes for a lot of these young quarterbacks around the league. I mean, Matthew Stafford, it was 12 years for him to get like a real winning program around him and build. So I think that kind of answers your question, that patience is important in a lot of circumstances.
100%.
And that you should build where you can.
Just going back to the actual gameplay, and I just want to bring up two specific plays that were really, really critical in this game. And again, like going back to the Bengals game, I know it's like a lot of people are going to be talking about it, but the dropped interception by Tart for San Francisco. San Francisco was up 17-14, about 9:47 left in the game. Does the interception in the game? No, obviously not. It's still going to be a dogfight in that regard. I don't know if they end up getting points in that drive. I'm not sure if they end up tying it that drive, but still a major, major opportunity that was missed. And credit to him, he's since owned up to it after that. I mean, it hit him right in the hands right there, but huge swing right there. And of course, we know the Rams do go on. They tie it up. They take the lead. The other thing that was huge, and at this point, there was a minute 9 left in the game. The Rams had seemingly all momentum and control at this game, and Jimmy G drops back, rolls out, and as he's kind of falling away, tries to throw it to his running back, and he tips it up and is intercepted. Killer. Ends the game right there for you, ends your season. So what do you think of those two two huge plays in a game where it's so tight and you can't be making those mistakes?
As a football guy, something like a former player, you see that play by Tart that he could have made in his literal sleep any other day of the week. That's a play he makes, I would say, 99.9% of the time. Yeah. And it just happens to be on the biggest stage. And, a game-altering. I think that moment, if he makes that interception, I think we talk about a Bengals-Niners Super Bowl right now. I really do.
We probably do. Yeah.
It's unfortunate for him, but I think that was game-changing. I bet 49ers fans are really upset about it. But you're right. Kudos to him for coming up afterwards, not blaming anybody else, not blaming the conditions, just said, that's on me. I'm going to have to live with that. And, we'll learn and get better from it. That's really all you can do in that position. And obviously – that's also unfortunate for Jimmy G, who's dumping the ball off to his running back, and it gets tipped up, another unintentional interception. So it's kind of two things that just happen to go the Rams' way. And if you're making a Super Bowl run, a lot of things have to go your way, despite how well you play. So these are just two critical plays that went in the Rams' favor down the win.
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. One last, as we look ahead to the Super Bowl, and I do want to talk about Tom Brady and all that news. Now we know he's officially retiring, but one note on this, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this as well. When you hear about the Super Bowl matchup, obviously this is not something that we thought we were going to get at the beginning of the year. Maybe the Rams. I know a lot of people are probably picking the Rams. Bengals, no way. Most people are picking them maybe third in the AFC North, but not to win it and ended up going to the Super Bowl. But I think it's so interesting to see these two teams come together because we called them the All-Star Rams because they have Von Miller and Odell and Stafford and McVay and Cooper Kupp, and they're loaded. They build through trading. They don't care about drafting as much anymore. And then you have the Cincinnati Bengals, who just took Joe Burrow as the first pick overall, and then they took Jamar Chase in the draft. So it's extremely interesting to see two teams going at it completely different, two different kind of markets when you have Cincinnati and LA. So I don't know. What are your initial thoughts when you think about the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I also think about from again the general manager's perspective here and how you're going to build a team, and for also like other teams looking at it for how they're going to go in the future. I want to cross-reference sports real quick. Kind of reminds me of the Warriors
Yeah.
when they draft Steph, they draft Clay, they draft Draymond, and there's not immediate success with any not even Steph's Warriors originally when he was doing it by himself. No immediate success. Same thing with Clay, and then you get Draymond on, and now it's like this complete team that's figuring out. And that's kind of what the Bengals did. They built through the draft, they built internally, and they did a fantastic job. Whereas the Rams kind of reminded me like the post KD signing Warriors, which is like, oh, they got this through an acquisition and a trade, and it's just two ways to do it. Both can be successful. It really depends on those pieces. A lot of chemistry there, but I'm really excited. I mean, I'm happy for both of these teams.
Yeah.
Both of these teams, even though the Rams, built through these all-stars and whatever it might be, these are teams that haven't won a Super Bowl in a long time.
Yeah.
Even though the Rams have been recently, there's a whole different team look, even by their uniforms, their stadium, their quarterback, how they get the job done. These are two teams that have changed their identity drastically in the last 2 years, and you're seeing them in the Super Bowl. I think if you're not a Bengals or a Rams fan, or maybe you hate these teams passionately, I think everyone's just going to watch this game with enjoyment. I don't care who wins as much. I want to, see a great game. I think it's what we're going to get.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think it's the first time in a long time where you have two teams where I was actually, and I think I'll tell you, I think I'm going for the Bengals, but it was tough. I was like, man, I do like Stafford a lot, and I am a fan of McVay, and I don't like seeing coaches or star quarterbacks lose in the Super Bowl a lot because I know that the narrative will get out of sorts and stuff. So it's like, man, I do love McVay. Do I go for the Rams? Because I know not many people, more people will be going for the Bengals and stuff. So I think since Cincinnati's never won one, I think I will be going for Cincinnati. But man, it's the first time in a long time where I'm like, man, I really have no idea who I want to win here, and I think it's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah, I think you can talk yourself into a bunch of different storylines. Head coaches, 38 and 36 years old. I think this is the youngest Super Bowl head coaching matchup ever.
I think so.
This game, depending on what happens, might influence a lot of decisions going forward about hiring these new coaches, which is another topic that maybe we'll touch on briefly just before the end, about Brian Flores and different new head coach hires and stuff like that. But I mean, this is going to have impacts for a lot of people because these are two young head coaches who got it done quickly in this league. And I think that, other franchises might look at that as well.
Well, and to your point, Matt LaFleur, he's also been phenomenal, and he's one of the younger coaches. Shanahan's not an old guy either. So it's definitely becoming more of a young man's game. But definitely let us know in the comments, whether you're watching us live, to let us know, what do you think about, the Rams 49ers game and the Bengals Chiefs game? What do you think about that? And what do you think about the Super Bowl matchup? Does it excite you, or are you not as excited? My sense in talking to people is people are really excited about it because it's another year in a row. We talked about it last week. It's another year in a row where the hosting team or hosting city, I mean, isn't that unreal? I mean, Tampa Bay did it last year and they won. And, here we have LA and the Rams. Crazy.
The fact that LA gets a home Super Bowl is unbelievable. I mean, that's going to be a big factor in the game. Of course, fans are going to travel from all over, but tickets are really expensive.
Crazy.
I was just looking for informational purposes, not that I'm actually going to same Super Bowl tickets. Anyone wants to give us some free tickets, you're a fan of the podcast, I will accept gladly. But they're just insane, all well within thousands. And I think a lot of Rams fans are going to be there, and that's going to be a big advantage for them.
Moving to some crazy, weird news. We didn't know if it was real. We didn't know if it was happening or not. But it sounds like it is official. Tom Brady is officially retiring. What do you think? Do you think he should retire, or do you think he should give it one more year? I mean, obviously Brady, to me, and I'm sure you as well, is the greatest of all time, accolades wise. I think, in terms of skill is a little bit different of a conversation, at least for me, as far as, the way they throw the ball and everything like that. But what are your initial thoughts on Brady retiring, and do you think he ultimately stays retired?
Yeah, I think it's just something for the league that is unfortunate.
right? Tom Brady, like the objective greatest of all time. If someone doesn't think that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, it's like I have to seriously check them on their knowledge, right? It's like it's common sense at this point. I think it's unanimous there. And it's a shame. I really wanted them to see if he could play until 45, which he can. But
Right.
I am also, if you've had such a long career like this, 22 years, and it's half of your life, you do have to respect those other portions of your life of being, a father, a husband, a family member, a friend. He's also got several businesses he's running as well. So he's got his hands in a lot of different pots right now. So he's going to enjoy that. But I'm sure he's going to be itching to play. I mean, do we see a Favre potential, reversal here? I wouldn't be shocked because this is all he knows for half of his life.
I know.
But it's a shame for the league, and I wish that we could get one more year of him and getting what he deserves, a tour on his way out. Each time he's at somewhere, like a Kobe tour, like he deserved it.
Yeah.
Players of his status
Jeter
deserve that tour. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. It didn't even seem real. Like, just to pull back the curtain a little bit, I was teaching classes this weekend when I got the alert that he was retiring, and I guess it was at that point. I think that we still didn't know yet. I think we just knew. I think today that it was official, but weird. I mean, I think it's funny is he's been in the league for 22 years, and he's been playing the league longer than my sister's been alive, and my sister's 20. So I think that's just she doesn't even know any. I mean, I don't either. Never seen football without Brady, so that's going to be extremely weird. I've seen people post end of an era where they're the Phillip Rivers, Big Ben, Eli Manning, Peyton, Drew. I mean, it's such an end of an era, but I think the good side for the NFL is we have some dogs right now, like the Mahomes, Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, who Aaron Rodgers is exiting, is not going to be in the league as long as Mahomes will, but I mean, Aaron Rodgers is still putting out money years. So the league is not short of any talented players, but it's definitely going to be super weird when he eventually retires. And I think it won't hit me until, the week 1 of next season.
Yeah. I've got a prediction for you on this, actually.
Okay.
So obviously the league's going to be shaken up by this entirely as well. But this looks like the Bucs need a quarterback then, if that's a circumstance, with Brady retiring. And I just saw reports before we went on that San Fran and Jimmy G are going to mutually find a trade partner for him. And I think, wouldn't it just continue this story of Jimmy G and Brady if the Bucs trade for Jimmy G at a little bit of a cheaper price than they would have gotten before? I mean, just as the guy that understands Brady's gameplay, I think that might be intriguing and attractive for both sides, even if it's only a 2-year thing, right? Figure out what their next step's going to be.
San Francisco is fascinating to me. I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, you bring up Jimmy G to Tampa. I can see that happening. They obviously need somebody to fill in. I've heard people say Jameis Winston, which I don't see that happening. I think he'll be in New Orleans. I think he's still under contract. Maybe not, but I don't know. The 49ers are very interesting to me. They move a lot of capital to get Trey Lance. We don't really see him a ton. Do they really believe in him? I mean, I have concerns that they don't really trust him at this point. San Francisco is. I mean, as far as the offseason goes, there's going to be a lot of things to talk about, with the New Orleans Saints. I know there's a lot to talk about with Brian Flores, and he's suing the NFL right now. So there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. And we can get more into that next week as well. But, man, what do you think, just as we kind of close here? Do you think – let me ask you this. Who do you think would be more likely to be the starter week 1 in San Francisco? You think it's more likely to be Jimmy G or Trey Lance? It's tough.
I think that's a good question. And if I'm the 49ers, I listen to offers for both. I think because I want to see what I can really get. Because Jimmy G almost brought you to the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years.
I know.
It's like his playoff record, as we talked about last week, is substantial. So I wouldn't be in such a rush to get away from Jimmy G. Yeah. He did this entire thing like a pro. He showed again that he has the potential to still be a franchise guy. I mean, he's 30? I mean, it's not too old. I mean, Brady just played till 44. Not that he's, any Brady, but I would listen to
Yeah.
offers from both. I wouldn't be surprised if it went anyway, but they just spent all this capital in the 4th overall pick on Trey Lance.
I know.
It's kind of difficult not to start him next year. So I'm going to
I
go
know.
Trey Lance, and they trade Jimmy G, but they might regret it.
I'm gonna go the opposite. I don't know. I just don't think they trust him yet. I don't think they trust Trey Lance yet. And maybe you're right. I would love to see Trey Lance out there. Part of me as a Packers fan wants to see Jordan Love out there, not like instead of Aaron Rodgers, but you just want to see what you got. You want to see what the shiny new toy is like. Is it that flashy or is it not? But especially with Kyle Shanahan. But man, what an episode. Next week, just to preview next week, we will have an episode. We're going to get into Super Bowl predictions. That's where we're going to lock in our predictions, whether they're taking the Bengals or the Rams. And then I think we're going to get more into more offseason stuff, dive more into that, the Brian Flores stuff. Maybe we have some fun with where quarterbacks are going to go and things like that. But that will be next week, the week before the Super Bowl.